And we're live. Welcome to the very first episode of OChem Life. And today we're going to dive into basic alkane nomenclature. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the various types of prefixes. I mistakenly wrote it as suffixes, so just pardon that error right there. Meth, eth, prop, etc. are actually prefixes in the alkane chain. And the ane itself refers to a single bond alkane chain. And anyways, so we have our prefixes. 1 is meth, 2 is eth, 3 is prop, so on and so forth. I would just go ahead and memorize this sort of list right here and ingrain it into your mind because it's going to be sort of a very essential stepping stone to have the rest of OChem. And right now, I'm drawing an alkane for an example. So right now, I'm drawing an ethane. And right now I'm also elucidating the various carbons. So I'm drawing that out. I'm drawing the 3 associated H bonds for a total of 4 bonds that carbon needs. And that is referred to as a methyl group. Very important to keep that in mind because it's one of the building blocks of functional groups in OChem. And on the other side of the ethane, we have another CH3 methyl group. And I'm sort of writing that all out there to ingrain it in your memory. So keep in mind here, we have 2 carbons total. So 1, 2. Just gotta check prefixes, check the list at first, and then make sure to memorize that. Ethane. So now that we have that down, we're going to go indulge in some practice problems right here. We've got 5 of these loaded up. And first one's a little bit of a gimme. I wrote ethane again. Just wanted to make it easy for the very first one. But a little good habit that I like to get into is sort of circling each individual carbon and then going to the list and counting that and making sure it aligns. So you have ethane, 2 carbons, and now we can proceed to number 2. Okay, so let's count the carbons. We can start in either order from either side of the alkane chain. So we're going to start from the left, going to the right. 1, 2, 3. So what is that prefix, guys? Propane. Awesome. Next, we're going to move on to number 3. And we can count from either side again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that prefix? 3, 4, 5. And looking back up at our list, that will be pent for pentane. Pentane. Moving on to number 4. Again, we can start in either order. So we're going to do left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And octane. And then finally, for the last one for our first set of examples, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What's the prefix for 10? Dec. Just going to reaffirm that we have everything that we need here. That's 10 carbons total for decane. All right, now moving on, we're going to make this a little bit more challenging by adding some basic functional groups. And specifically, we're going to just stick to fairly basic functional groups such as methyl, ethyl, and propyl. And particularly, we're going to remember to abide by the same sort of rule set that we did for the previous prefixes. That's going meth, eth, prop, but, and so on and so forth. So looking at our first practice problem, we have two options in which we can approach the numeration of the alkane chain, either left or right. And that functional group that's on that 5-carbon chain can either be 2 or 4, and we want to make that the lowest possible position number. So we're going to get with 2. So we have that on the second group, and we have 5 total. So the main chain is going to be called pentane, going back to our prefixes for the main alkane chain. And what's that name of that functional group? Let's go back to our prefixes. I'm going to go ahead and switch the pen color to gray just to try out a new sort of setup here. So first we need to know where the particular group is located. So it's on the 2, and then it's 1 carbon total, so it's going to be a methyl group. And we're going to attach that to the main chain, so it's going to be 2-methylpentane. So moving on to number 2. Which way are we going to start? We have to start from the position in which it would be the lowest numerical value. And again, in this case, it would be 2. But the alkane chain is a little bit longer in this case, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. So what functional group is that, and where is it located, and how can we attach it to the hexane? So the second group, it's a methyl, and it's attached to the hexane. All right, proceeding on to number 3, we have the functional group located in the very middle. It's equidistant from both sort of entries into the carbon chain. So what is it going to be in this case? You actually have the luxury of choosing from either side in this case, because no matter what, it's always going to be on the 3 carbon. So you can start from either the left or the right and start numbering it from there. So we have 5 total carbons for pentane. Where is the methyl group located in this case? 3-methylpentane. And then finally, we're going to dive into cyclic alkanes, pardon me. And it's important to remember that the sort of naming, the nomenclature actually remains the same largely, except for the fact that we're going to be adding cyclo in front of the various prefixes. So right here, we can start numbering from either side because there's no attached functional groups. We have 3 total carbons, so we know it's going to be propane. But looking back at the rules, we had to put the cyclo in front of the propane. And proceeding on to number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 total carbons. So thinking back, that would be hexane. but again, we're going to need that cyclo in front of the hexane to make it accurate. And we're going to move on to number 3 here. Pardon me, I'm just going to fix this real quick. Important to remember there's no space between the cyclo and the hexane. So we have a functional group of methyl on here. So where we're going to start numbering from? We're going to follow the same idea of making it the lowest possible number. And in this case, that would mean starting from where the functional group is located on the alkane. So we're going to start numbering from where that methyl is. And we're going to start that as number 1. So coming back to our cyclohexane, we have 6 total. And we're going to start numbering from that first methyl group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hexane, cyclohexane. But how are we going to write the fact that there's a 1 methyl in there? One methyl cyclohexane. We put that functional group before the rest of the main chain.